This is Mr. Downs, and this is one of a series of videos about how we teach maths at the Winston Federation. This video is all about multiplication. So the idea is, if you want to know how your child would do some of the methods or progress throughout the school, this video should be able to help you, and you can see some of the methods. You might be able to help them with some of their work that they do at home. Or if you're a child at our school, you may be able to have a little look at this and have a reminder about how to do some of the methods, so it helps everyone going through. So I'm going to start with year 1, and I'm going to go right the way through to year 6, how we teach multiplication and how it progresses. There's lots of different strategies that we use, and the methods should stay largely the same as your child or yourself progress through the school. So we start looking at multiplication in year 1 and year 2. And we're looking at one-step problems using multiplication. Now, at this stage, we're looking at multiplication in terms of repeated addition. So if I've got one question, one bag holds 5 apples. How many apples do 4 bags hold? That is a calculation of 5 multiplied by 4, but we'd be able to do it as I've got 5, another 5, another 1, and another 1. If I add them all up, what would I get? And I would get 20. So you might be able to do that with number shapes. That's what we've got at the top. You could draw out the apples in the bags and then count up how many you've got. You can use a number line to support the understanding and make jumps of 5, 1 5, 2 5, 3 5s, 4 5s to get 20, using beads on a line. I've got a tens frame down here with counters on a frame up to 10. You get your first 5, you need another 5 apples, you need another 5 apples, another 5, count them all up and see how many you've got. Again, we've got an example of repeated addition down here. You can do 5 4s or 4 5s. So we show the children the idea of commutativity, where you can change over that calculation 5 times 4 or 4 times 5, and you still get the same answer. So it's the same question, but representing it in lots of different ways, giving the children lots of different strategies and help them understand how they would be able to do that. So then as your child progresses into year 3 and year 4, we are starting to look at some formal methods for them to use. So that's what these are here, formal methods for them to have a little go at. So still got the same question, 34 multiplied by 5, that equals 170. And there's different ways in which your child might be able to calculate that. So the first thing they might be able to do is over here, they might be looking at representing it using, these are called base 10. So you've got 1 square for 1, you've got a stick of them for 10, and then you can go into a big square for 100. So in this calculation, you've laid out the number 34, 3 10s and 4 1s, and then you've done that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then you can add them all up. So in adding all these numbers together, I've got 20. So I'll bring over my 2 10s into here. They add all these up. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'd put 7 in this one and I'd bring this over to 100. So I'll get my answer of 170. All right. And that would be how you do that calculation with manipulatives to be able to help them understand it. You can also do it down here with place value counters to help them understand the maths behind it, but it's all leading up to a formal method. So depending on where your child's at and their understanding of place value and how it works, they might start with an expanded method up here, which is this one, and then that might move to this compact method down here. Now this one over here stays largely the same all the way throughout school after that point. This one's just a gap in between to help them understand the place value that goes on behind it. So I'll show you how we would lay those ones out. So the calculation is 34 multiplied by 5. So first thing I'd do is I would put 34. I'll just get the thing down here, 34. Let's rub that out. 34 multiplied, put my multiplication symbol there, multiplied by 5. And as you may have seen, in this one, we leave a gap. So I've left a line there. The reason we do that is we can have a lot of carryover in this one. And this leaves space for your child to be able to do that calculation. So we just leave that little gap and it helps them be able to have a little bit more space to be able to conduct the calculation. So with this one, we'd be looking at our place value headings. Those are 1s and those are 10s. And the first calculation I'd do would be 4 times 5. And I would just put that down there. I'd do 5 multiplied by 4, because that's the first stage of the calculation, and that would be 20. So I'd put my answer in there. Second stage of the calculation is 5 multiplied by 3, but it's 5 multiplied by 30, and that's what this part helps them understand, that it's 5 not just multiplied by a 3, but it's multiplied by a 30. And if 5 multiplied by 3 is 15, then 5 multiplied by 30 would be 150. So we would be able to put 150 in there. Then after that, they would pop their line in, just a single line in there, just as we do with our addition and subtraction, because if they need to run a cumulative calculation underneath, they've got lots of space. Add it up. 0 add 0 is 0. 2 add 5, or 2 10s add 5 10s is 7 10s. And I've got my 1 there, my 100, so it would be 170. So that would be the first stage in that process. Once they understand the place value behind that, you'd be moving on to looking at a more compact method. So same calculation, if I was to put 34, and I'm going to multiply that by 5. At this stage, we'd still be looking at our place value headings, just as we do in addition, just as we do in a subtraction. Put those in there. Again, I'm going to leave a line because that can help with my carryover. Okay, so I've got it. I'll just rub that line in. I'll make it a little bit neater than that. Put my line in down there. And then I would do 5 multiplied by 4, which is 20. Put my 0 in there, 0 1s, and my 2 10s, they would go into that next column above the line. Then I would do 5 multiplied by 3, that 5 multiplied by 30, and that would be 15, 5 times 3, and I'd need to add that 2, which makes 17. I've got nothing else to times by, so I can put that 17 in there. And then we would cross out that, so I know I've used it. So that's the same sort of method, but a much more compact way of doing it. Now, that method that we've just gone through just there stays largely the same as they move throughout the school. So that's in year 3 and year 4. As we progress, when we're doing multiplying 3-digit numbers by 1-digit numbers, so we've got similar ways in which we can show that calculation. Again, we can use it with base 10 in this sort of frame to help them understand how it works, or we can use place value counters. I'll just show you how this one down here works. So we've got 245. That's what they've done on the top row. We've got 5 1s, we've got 4 10s for 40, and we've got 200s for 200. That's 245. Now we need 4 lots of those. So we put in another 4 there. So we've got 4 lots of 5 in there. In here, we need 4 lots of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, just there. And in here, we need 4 lots of 200, and we've put those in there. Then we would add them up. So over here, we've counted all of them together, and we've got 20. So that means I've got 0 1s, and that 20 moves into the next column. Then I would count all these, and I've got 16, 18 10s. So I'd leave 8 in this column, and I need to move 1 into the hundreds column. And then this one, I've got 9 of those, which makes 980. And then just this calculation up here, we've still got our place value headings at the top, hundreds, 10s, 1s, 245 multiplied by 4. Start by going 4 multiplied by 5 is 20. 0 there, 2 into that column. 4 multiplied by 4 is 16. Then we would add that 2 to make 18. 8 goes there. 1 goes into that column, and I'll cross out that 2 so I know I've used it. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. Add the 1 would make 9 900s, and I'll cross out that 1 so I know I've used it, and that would be 980. Then, as we're progressing through the school, if I'm moving into year 5, we've got exactly the same method. So I've got a calculation, 1,826 multiplied by 3 equals 5,478. So it's still the same method, still laid out the same. There's no difference to it, except at this point in year 5 and year 6, we start taking away those place value headings. So we don't need to put those at the top anymore because they understand their place value at that point. So we can visualize it here. So if you have a little bit of trouble with how that calculation works, we can use manipulatives, we can use that counters to be able to work it through until we're happy we can move on to this formal method over here. So if we just go how this works, we've got 1,826, and we're multiplying that by 3. We would leave a gap and then put our line, because then we've got space for this carryover down here. And we go 3 multiplied by 6, and that's 18. My 8 would go there, my 1 goes into the next column. Got 3 multiplied by 2, that's 6. Add that 1, make 7, and we make sure we cross out that 1 out so we know we've used it. Now we've got 3 multiplied by 8 is 24. The 4 goes in that column, 20 moves into the next column, and then 3 multiplied by 1, add the 2, makes 5. Cross it out, so I know I've used it. My answer is 5,478. So that's how that calculation works, exactly the same as the one we've just seen. As we're moving forward into year 5, we're starting to look at multiplying 2-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. So it's a slight extension of the method we've just used, but it doesn't change the basic method, but we will go through what that calculation is. So again, you can show it in a variety of different ways. What we've got here is the grid method. Now this would be an in-between to be able to help the children understand how we progress from the last method to this one, and the maths behind how that works. So with the calculation 22 multiplied by 31, you would break that number up in a grid just like this, and I would put my 20 here, a 2 there for 22, and down on this side of the grid I put my 30 and my 1 to make 31, and then I would start to times those numbers together. So I would do 30 times 20, which equals 600. 30 multiplied by 2 equals 60. 1 multiplied by 20 is 20, and 1 multiplied by 2 equals 2. And then if I add all those up, I've got 600, add 60, 660, add 20, 680, add 2, 682, and I've got my final answer. And that is progressing into this method over here. These two up here, again, they're visualizations of this grid method to help them understand that. But this is what we're aiming for over here, this abstract method. So we've got 22 multiplied by 31. 22 multiplied by 31. So first thing I'll do is I'll just rub these out. There we go. 22 multiplied by 31. So put my 22 in there. Multiplication symbol just there, and I'm multiplying by 31. Again, I'd leave a gap for my line, so I'll put it a little bit lower down so I've got space for all that carryover that needs to come, and then I get started with my calculation. So we'd start with the 1s over here. So 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, and again 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. Then we move on to multiplying by this 3. Now this is a 30. So the children need to understand that in this column, I need to put a placeholder to show that my number is going to be slightly larger. So I'll do 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. And I do 3 multiplied by 2 is also 6. Once I've done that calculation, I'd put another line in, just 1, because then if they need to add on more afterwards, there's plenty of space for them to do so. And I do 2 add 0 is 2. 2 add 6, or 2 tens add 6 tens is 8 tens. Just like that. And then I've got that 6 at the end, 682. So that's how that calculation would work. So if we go back onto here, after year 5, well, continuing year 5, we're still progressing. We've got slightly larger numbers. So we're looking at 3-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. So 234 multiplied by 32. So it's the same method, same way of calculating that we've just gone through, or we can expand it with the grid method over here to help them understand it. So my calculation is 243 multiplied by 32. So this one just here. So we'd lay it out with our hundreds at the top, 234 multiplied by 32. 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. Then we go 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. And then 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. Once we move on to the next level here, we're multiplying by that 30. So I need to put a placeholder just here, so I know it's going to be a slightly larger number. then it would be 3 multiplied by 4 is 12. My 2 would go there. My carryover goes above the line. 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. Add that 1 would equal 10. So I'll put my 0 there and my 1 comes into the next column, and I'll make sure I cross that digit out so I don't use it again. And then I do 3 multiplied by 2 equals 6. Add that 1 equals 7 there. Once I've done that, I put another line in, my addition symbol, and then I would add them up. So I've got 8, add 0 is 8, 6, add 2, 8, 4, add 0 is 4, and then my 7,000 at the end is still 7,000 there. The answer would be 7,488. So that method stays the same, and then we would start to look at in their Year 6 arithmetic test calculations like this, multiplying 4-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. So I'll go through this calculation, and it'll be the last one, and then we know exactly what we're doing for these sorts of methods. So for this one, we've got 2,739. I'll just rub out this one here. So I've got a bit of space. And it's 2,739. I'm going to be multiplying that, and I'll just check what I'm multiplying it back. I'm multiplying it by 28. Multiplied by 28. So I'd line that up underneath just like that. After that, I'd leave a gap, and I would put in straight line, just like that, just the 1 at the minute, and then I would start the calculation. So the first part would be 8 multiplied by 9, which is 72. So I could put my 2 there. That 7 moves into the next column above the line. 8 multiplied by 3 is 24. Add that 7 is 31. So I'd be able to put my 1 there, my 3 there, and I'd cross out the 7 so I know I've used it. 8 multiplied by 7 is 56. Add that 3 is 59. So I'll be able to put my 9 just there, and then my 5 just there. Cross out that 3, so I know I've used it. And then I'd do 8 multiplied by 2 is 16. Add that 5 is 21. Cross out that 5. I can put my 1 there, my 20 there. Because I've got nothing else to times by, I can just put that 2 in that column there. Then I'd move on to the next level. I'm times it by 20, so I need to put a placeholder in there to show I'm times it by a larger number. So 2 multiplied by 9, that would be 18. Put my 8 there. My 1 and my 10 goes there. Then it would be 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6. Now I'd add that 1 to make 7. After that, I'd go 2 multiplied by 7 is 14. I can put 4 there, the next available space, the 1 goes up here, and then finally I'd do 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. I'd add that 1, it would make 5. Once I've done that, I need to add them up now. So I'd put just the 1 line. I'd put my addition symbol, so I knew what I was doing, and then I'd go 2, add 0 is 2. 1 add 8 is 9. 9 add 7 is 16. Just like I would in the addition calculation, anything that needs to be bridged into the next column would just go there. 6 would go just down here. Do 1, add 4, add 1 would equal 6. And I can cross that out so I know I've used it. And then finally, 2 add 5 would equal 7. So my answer would be 76,692. There we go. So that is how we do multiplication at the Winston Federation. So if you want to have a little check back, just to recap, or if that helps you in any way to be able to support your child, that is fantastic. Thank you very much for listening.